my question is for the Purple Gang in general, did they, how they imported obviously and they got it. Did they kind of pass it off to like different ethnic groups and drug dealers, or did they, were they street level? I just want to know where they were in the supply chain.
Both. They were both middlemen, and some of them did deal. There were a few busts of some guys that were in cut houses. One in particular in Yonkers that I looked at. So they were kind of spreading around. They did partner with other groups. Well, obviously Matthew Madonna, he became Nicky Barnes's major supplier. So there were some that were kind of on the supply side and some that were more middlemen to dealer side. And then they started, and they also sold to other dealers as well. So they kind of ran the gamut depending on the person.
Any organizational feuds? We'll get to some of the individual, some of them were killers to say the least. But any organizational feuding with the Purple Gang and maybe some of the mob families or some of the local ethnic groups?
So there were some killings. Well, there was one guy, Carmine. Oh man, I just totally blanked on the name. Carmine Linnea, I believe, is the one. I'll probably have to double check that and add it in the YouTube comments. Anyway, there was a lot of suspicion he was killed by members of the Purple Gang. Turns out he was killed from Nicky Barnes ordered his killing.
That was the guy. He was a Banana associate, I think.
Yeah, so he was tied in very closely with the Purple Gang, and if you read the DEA report from '76, he's considered a Purple Gang murder. Then years later, when Nicky Barnes testifies and comes out, he says, "No, we killed that guy." So there was definitely a lot of rivalries with other drug dealers, and I did find a couple neat little comments. One in particular from an FBI report from it's like '78 or '79 that the Genovese and Gambino families were having a top meeting to talk about the problems of the Purple Gang, and they were causing them headaches and things like that. But there were no violence really directed at the Purple Gang from the Mafia in terms of like, you need to tamper that down. Most of the violence associated with them were kind of two phases, but early on was a lot of drug beefs, basically.
Drug-related.
Yeah.
Now, not to harp on it too much, but the Carmine killing, and I think it might be Cosa Nostra News has a good piece on it. I'll check with Ed Scarpo. There was something odd about it because I kind of gave the impression he was like a made guy, but he wasn't. He got killed, but he was super connected. So and then there was another guy that was made. There's something to it where the killing went unanswered, and I don't think it was as simple as he was an associate and they let it slide. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you give any more color to that, or
no? I'd have to. It might come to me by the end of the interview. But yeah, there were right around that time. There were so many killings in the spate of about 5 years. There were over a dozen guys tied in or connected with the Purple Gang killed, and violence became one of their hallmarks. In fact, when they start hitting the media in the late '70s, like '77, '78, they're throwing around, oh, they killed 100 people, they killed 200 people. I have a paragraph where I just list all these different sources that attribute like wildly different body counts to the Purple Gang.
Wow. Now, we'll get to the Italians in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Who were some of the Nicky Barnes? I don't know about if it was Frank Matthews. Who were some of maybe the black gangsters or the other ethnic gangsters that kind of dealt with the Purple Gang, or at least was in that sphere?
Yeah, or primarily Nicky Barnes, Frank Matthews, the black gangsters in Harlem and the Bronx.